For today's video, we'll be taking a look at a new compact dual-chamber PC case by Lian Li, the O11 Dynamic Mini V2. Available in black or white, the O11 Dynamic Mini V2 supports ATX motherboards and is the anointed successor to Lian Li's popular O11 Dynamic Mini that was launched back in 2020. Let's see if it's any good. First things first, the packaging. The case comes in a brown cardboard box with your usual product illustrations and descriptions on all sides. Opening up the box, we see that the case comes with a single box of accessories. Now inside of this box, we get an expansion slot frame that is to be used for vertical GPU mounting purposes, a vertical GPU support bracket, a transparent plastic box containing bits and bobs such as your screws and whatnot, as well as an instruction manual. Opening up the plastic box, we see that Lian Li's provided a whole bunch of screws, cable ties, anti-vibration rubber rings for 2.5-inch SSD mounting purposes, spare friction clips for the side panels of the case, as well as a thank you note. Something about the manual that's really common nowadays and is a good thing. We get illustrations on how best to do cable management with this case. It will definitely save end users some time with figuring out the cable management situation with this case when building their PCs. Here it is, the O11 Dynamic Mini V2 in the flesh. The case is decently protected in the packaging, and we get a long strip of silicone to protect the edges of the tempered glass panels during shipping. For this review, Lian Li's sent over the black version of the O11D Mini V2, and for those of you thinking of building a white-coloured PC, the O11D Mini V2 also comes in a white colorway as well. The case features a compact dual-chamber design and is made of a combination of 2mm thick aluminium panels, 1mm thick mesh panels, as well as tempered glass panels. The O11D Mini V2 sports Lian Li's characteristic O11 aesthetic, with what the brand calls a seamless corner design with tempered glass panels for the front and left sides. It's worth mentioning that the black variant of the O11D Mini V2 comes with a darker tint for the tempered glass panels, while the white variant comes with clear tempered glass with no tint. With that in mind, the front tempered glass panel shows the first key difference that the Mini V2 has over its predecessor, that is, a slanted bottom panel for intake fans, which is manifested in this gradient that you can see towards the bottom of the front panel. The other side panel comes with ventilation openings right above where the side-mounted case fans and your power supply unit's cooling fan would be. This brings us on to the next tweak that Lian Li has done with the Mini V2. Because of this raised section on the side panel, the Mini V2 is now able to accommodate full-sized ATX power supplies, unlike with the original Mini, where you could only install PSUs in the SFX form factor. In terms of front panel connectivity, we get a 3.5mm headphone and microphone combo jack, dual USB 3.0 Type-A ports, as well as a single USB 3.2 Type-C port. Do note that the case doesn't come with a power LED or a hard disk activity LED. A feature worth highlighting is the fact that end users can reposition the front panel I/O module to suit your desk setup. At the moment, the review unit comes with the I/O module mounted at the bottom of the front panel. You do have the option of relocating it to the top panel. This blank filler plate is removable and you can relocate the entire I/O module to the top, which is great for you folks who place your PCs on the floor. To get started with the relocation, you'll need to remove the drive cages and drive mounting bracket in the side chamber of the case so as to get clear access to the front panel module and its associated cables. Once this is done, you can undo the 4 screws that hold the I/O module in place, and then thereafter remove the module from its mount. Removing the blank filler plate at the top of the case is a breeze, where all you've got to do is to undo 2 screws that hold the plate in place. Before mounting the I/O module at the top, you'll need to reposition the cables within the I/O module so that the cables can run in a direction that facilitates better cable management. And with that done, we can then go ahead to plonk the module right in at the top panel. With the front panel I/O relocated to the top of the case, you have the option of replacing the blank filler plate to cover the space where the I/O module used to occupy. Or if you'd prefer, even remove this triangular shaped faceplate entirely so as to have improved airflow and to create a recess that makes moving the case around just a little easier. I must say, I really do appreciate this flexibility and modularity. While we're still talking about the top panel of the case, we see that Lian Li has included ventilation openings right where you'd install your top-mounted case fans or radiator. Over on the bottom panel, we get a removable dust filter that covers the O11D Mini V2's triple 120mm fan openings. As can be seen, the case comes with 4 rubber pads that serve as feet for the case. Moving to the rear of the case, one interesting feature to note is the fact that the O11D Mini V2 supports what Lian Li terms a high and low motherboard mounting position. In this regard, we get a repositionable plastic cover that comes mounted in the default high mode for ATX motherboards, like so. If you're intending to install a micro ATX or mini ITX motherboard in this case, you get the option of mounting the motherboard in the low mode. Doing so gives you support for thicker radiators, and you'll need to reposition the plastic cover like so. And of course, you'll need to reposition the motherboard standoffs accordingly before mounting your micro ATX or mini ITX motherboard. In terms of expansion slot openings, no surprises here that we get covers that are reusable, seeing as this is more of a premium PC case offering after all. Removing the panels of the O11 Dynamic Mini V2 is a pretty straightforward affair, where Lian Li's gone with a toolless design for the case panels. First up, you've got to remove the top panel that slides out easily once you've undone these 2 thumb screws. Where as can be seen, we also get a pre-installed dust filter on the underside, which is great. Thereafter, removing the tempered glass side panel involves undoing a single thumb screw before the said panel can be pried off, where as can be seen, we've got magnets for a soft close effect. The side metal panel is held in place by friction posts and can be pried off with ease. It's good to see that we get a pre-installed dust filter for the side intake openings. Finally, the front tempered glass panel is also held in place by magnets for a soft close effect, where it pops off easily. On a side note, if you're new to the ALKtech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest product releases in the PC hardware world. With that, onto the interior, starting first with cooling features. You have the option of purchasing the O11D Mini V2 with or without pre-installed fans, where the variant that comes with 5 reverse blade fans pre-installed is called the O11D Mini V2 Flow, while the variant that comes without any fans installed is simply called, you guessed it right, the O11D Mini V2. For those of you who are not quite sure of what kind of case fan orientation you should have with the O11D Mini V2, fret not, for I have on screen a diagram from the reviewer's guide that Lian Li sent over to me with the recommended fan orientations clearly illustrated. And with that, let's talk about cooling hardware support, starting first with the side panel here, where we get support for up to two 120mm case fans or a 240mm AIO radiator. You'll notice that we get two repositionable side fan covers that are used to minimize airflow leakage so as to improve cooling efficiency. These covers are made of metal and snap into place and can be placed in either of these three positions as pictured, depending on your preference and of course the type of hardware that you'll be using with this case. Up top, we get openings that support either up to three 120mm case fans, or two 140mm case fans, or up to a 360mm AIO radiator. A noteworthy feature is the fact that the top panel comprises a removable bracket that makes it easier for you to install your fans or a radiator outside of the case when building your PC. Moving to the bottom panel, as can be seen, we get openings that support up to three 120mm case fans, and we also get a removable bracket for ease of installation of these said fans. A new feature that the O11D Mini V2 has over its predecessor, the O11D Mini, is having the bottom fan tray slanted at a 10-degree angle towards the left side of the case. According to Lian Li, this angled design serves both thermal performance and aesthetic purposes. The brand states that this design improves airflow by channeling cool air from the right side intake directly towards your graphics card, and it also eliminates the need for traditional case feet. The angling also allows you to showcase bottom intake reverse blade fans that may have, say, LCD screens or an infinity mirror effect. Finally, over on the rear, Lian Li's included a single opening that supports a 120mm case fan. In terms of physical dimensions, the O11 Dynamic Mini V2 is a pretty compact dual-chamber ATX PC case, where it has the dimensions that you see on the screen. For those of you familiar with the original O11 Dynamic Mini, the V2 is larger by 2 liters than its predecessor, all while maintaining relatively similar dimensions. As a result of this increase in size, we get full support for ATX power supplies, which is great. For end users intending to use an air cooler with this case, do note that the case supports CPU coolers of heights of no more than 160mm according to Lian Li. For your graphics card, the O11D Mini V2 comes with support for cards with lengths of up to 400mm, and Lian Li's also included a built-in GPU support bracket that is adjustable for height and can be shifted left and right as well to accommodate wider motherboards. The case also supports vertically mounted GPUs, though you will have to get a riser cable that is sold separately. Changing the orientation of the expansion slot openings to suit a vertically mounted GPU is pretty straightforward. All you've got to do is to undo these screws on the rear so as to remove the expansion slot bracket. You'll then have to install the expansion slot bracket that is meant for a vertical GPU, which comes included with the case. It's worth noting that you'll need to have bottom intake fans installed, as they'll serve as a base with which to install the included vertical GPU support bracket. Also, when installing a GPU in the vertically mounted position, you'll have to make sure that you've got your graphics card mounted from the second slot onwards, as shown on the screen. This is so as to avoid any clearance issues with the bottom mounted case fans. One other thing worth mentioning is that the O11D Mini V2 comes with support for motherboards with rear connectors, so motherboards from say ASUS's BTF lineup or Gigabyte Stealth series or MSI's Project Zero lineup should be compatible with this case. Finally, in terms of power supply dimensions, we get support for ATX power supplies, something that its predecessor, the O11D Mini, did not support. In this regard, Lian Li indicates that the O11D Mini V2 has up to 200mm of length clearance for a power supply, which is mounted in the other chamber of the PC case. Do note that this 200mm figure is for when you do not have the rear 2.5-inch SSD bracket installed. If you do have this said bracket installed, the PSU length clearance goes down to 170.5mm instead. That being said, we get this removable bracket that helps make installing your PSU a fuss-free affair. For those of you intending to install 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives for your PC build with the O11D Mini V2, Lian Li's got you covered with a 2.5-inch drive bracket that supports up to two 2.5-inch SSDs. This is accompanied by two removable drive brackets right here that each support either a 2.5-inch or a 3.5-inch drive. The drive cages each come with a swiveling door that helps with cable management for a cleaner build. The front panel connectors of the case are a pretty standard affair, where we get the usual front panel power switch connector, a front panel audio connector, a front panel USB 3.2 Type-C connector, as well as a USB 3.0 Type-A connector. Now I do appreciate the fact that Lian Li has gone with a 9-pin front panel header for the power switch. You can see that of the 9-pin openings, only 2 are populated with leads for the power switch. This really helps with getting the connector hooked up to the motherboard with ease and saves you the hassle of fiddling about with a 2-pin connector and trying to get it connected to the right pins on your motherboard. With that, let's do a demo build with the O11D Mini V2. Getting the motherboard into the case was pretty straightforward, where the motherboard standoffs are already pre-installed on the motherboard tray for an ATX board. As the motherboard that I'll be using for the demo build is kind of wide, I'll need to adjust the position of the GPU support bracket so as to create enough space for the motherboard to be installed on the motherboard tray. If need be, you can simply use the included motherboard standoff mounting tool to reposition the standoffs. You also want to make sure that you've got the plastic spacer installed in the correct position. In this instance, for an ATX board, it'll be in the high position like so. The case fan installation process was pretty smooth too, where Lian Li's sent over 3 of their new budget-friendlier UNI FAN CL Wireless 120 reverse blade fans for the bottom intake as part of this review. For the side intake fans, I didn't have any additional reverse blade fans on hand, so I made do with the new Lian Li SL-Infinity Wireless 120 fans that were kindly supplied by Corbel Technologies, the official distributor for Lian Li in Singapore. As can be seen, I've opted not to install a rear exhaust fan, as I did not have a spare L wireless receiver for a standalone Lian Li fan on the rear. Installing the power supply unit was a cinch too, where you've got to remove the PSU bracket, mount the PSU on it, and then reinstall both the bracket and PSU into the case. For CPU cooling, the folks at Lian Li have sent over one of their newest AIO CPU coolers, the HydroShift II LCD-C 360R, as part of this review. The HydroShift II LCD-C 360R model comes equipped with 3 UNI FAN CL Wireless 120mm fans, and installing the AIO cooler required a bit more effort and adjustments owing to the tighter confines of the space up top in the case. It's a good thing then that the top panel has a removable bracket so as to make installation just a little easier. You'll want to make sure that you check the dimensions of your AIO CPU cooler first so as to ensure that it fits properly in the O11D Mini V2. For the demo build with this case, I'll be installing a chonker of our graphics card, the Gigabyte AORUS GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24G, which measures in at a sizable 358.5mm by 162.8mm by 75.1mm, and as can be seen on the screen, it fits perfectly within the O11D Mini V2. With the demo build pretty much done, it's a good time to talk about cable management with the O11D Mini V2. Now, I appreciate the fact that Lian Li has included 7 strategically placed Velcro straps that are accessible from the secondary chamber of the case, though in the interest of time, I didn't really use all of them for this demo build. One feature worth pointing out is a nifty 24-pin PSU cable support bracket right here, which helps reduce cable strain on the said PSU cable, and I suppose it also does help with cable tidiness too. Moving along, I also appreciate the fact that we've got a large rubber grommet that is strategically placed so as to allow for easy routing of cables from the secondary chamber to the primary chamber and vice versa. All in all, the demo build is shaping up pretty nicely, I must say, in spite of the fact that I did not put too much effort into cable management. And with that, here's a completed demo build with the O11 Dynamic Mini V2. In terms of thermal performance, I did a quick performance benchmark with the O11D Mini V2's demo build, where you can see the specs of the said build on the screen. With F123's in-game benchmark, where I ran a 5-lap test for around 9 minutes in total, the AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D processor in the demo build achieved an average CPU temperature of around 62.5 degrees Celsius, while the GeForce RTX 4090 Master 24G by Gigabyte achieved an average GPU temperature of 67.5 degrees Celsius and an average hotspot temperature of 77.8 degrees Celsius. These results were achieved in a non-air conditioned room with an average ambient temperature of around 31 degrees Celsius. For the purposes of benchmarking, the fan curves were left on their stock standard settings without any further tweaks. To sum up, I think that the Lian Li O11 Dynamic Mini V2 is going to be a hit, especially with its price point of $89 for both the black and white variants and $99 for the flow variants in either black or white. Just as a reminder, the flow variants come with 5 pre-installed fans. Now for these prices, you get a well-built fish tank style case for the money that also performs decently well from a thermal perspective, all in a compact footprint that supports ATX motherboards, ATX power supplies, and very large graphics cards. Fit and finishing is also good for its price point, and the O11D Mini V2 also comes with a good amount of support for your cooling needs. Plenty of nice to have such as a built-in GPU support bracket, support for vertically mounted GPUs, all topped off by a nice list of customizable features and cable management features. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.